Hello, I'm JP Wiggins,
Hi, and I'm Mark Adesso.
and we're with 1LogTech. And 1LogTech is a new company, and what we do is we specialize in transportation integration, logistics integration, hence the name 1LogTech. Our sweet spot right now is 3PL to carrier and customer integration. And what makes us unique and different is that this is an entirely new approach to connectivity. And what I say by new approach is, you could call it no code, but it really isn't. It's you people coding. So it's transportation experts themselves are able to reach out to a carrier and form their own connectivity without the use of a developer or IT. And I'm not talking about a library of carriers that we've already pre-built. I'm talking about you reaching out to a random carrier. As long as they have EDI or API abilities, you're able to form a working operational integration for tendering and booking and statuses and documents. All right? So it's going to be, this is completely disruptive technology that's going to change the way you connect to your carriers, as well as customers. When we say customers, like a 3PL connecting to their customer's ERP, their NetSuite, their SAP, their Oracles, for purposes of order integrations. All right. We tell people this and they say, it sounds too good to be true. So let's show you. Mark, let's set up a new carrier. So let's imagine you're a transportation subject matter expert, a TMS user. We call you a SME, subject matter expert. And you've contacted a carrier. We have a standard operating procedure where you send a note to the carrier, you determine how you're going to format back and forth, and you're going to set up a new carrier in our system.
Okay, so I'm here in the setup. So I have my carrier setup screen. I just come and I add carrier, and I'll just give it whatever name I want here, JB Hunt, and there's SCAC code, JHBT. And then here we have the templates, or the various kinds of messages that you want to set up. So for EDI, this is our standard tender response, tracking status. And we do offer some templates. So basically, EDI is fairly standard. So, you're going to have slight differences. Carriers usually use some different fields for certain purposes. But more or less, the structure of the EDI is consistent. So we have these base templates to start with. So I'll pick some of these base templates. We're using 4010, but maybe they use a 4030 status. So I pick those, and that's how I start. The other thing is we use FTP. That's how the carriers are going to, the EDI carriers will connect with us, how we connect with them.
An important point about FTP is we're actually doing this all at AWS. It isn't an FTP server, it's actually S3 storage in AWS. So we're trying to eliminate the entire EDI layer. We give this to the carrier, so if they're able to transfer files, it's in AWS. A couple advantage of, it's instantaneous. We see this, it's instantaneous, we're able to process the files. It's also very inexpensive. So running in a modern platform in AWS, we're able to process messages cheaper than any other method that's out there right now. So, go ahead.
And you see also that you put your username and password, so that creates the FTP account. So you don't have to go to your IT group and say, oh, we need a new FTP set up. So you just add that, and now you're done. So now we have a new carrier called JB Hunt. And again, this is using sort of templates, standard out-of-the-box transformations, but you can customize those very easily.
Yeah, so that's a simple EDI example with a truckload carrier. Another example would be with an LTL carrier. And here we've had to pre-build some workflows. So like ODFL here is an example where we've pre-built the workflows for the EBOL process. And they'll select this as a template, and the workflow itself will reach out, it'll book the load, it'll get the booking number, then it'll go back to the EBOL API, get the pro number, and insert it into the TMS itself. So then when we start tracking statuses throughout the process, some carriers do offer API statuses, but still most people are using EDI statuses. We can use API status, it's just there's some issues with the industry until carriers start to give us webhooks, which we're waiting for them to do. But then once we receive like a delivery notification or a D1 link, then we're going to start pinging them for documents over API itself.
So, and APIs, as you know, if you ever used them before, are a lot more complicated than EDIs. EDIs are fairly straightforward because they're standard. APIs are not standard in any way, right? Every carrier's API is very, very different. What we do there, so we'll have some that we'll build, and we'll add those to our library. But we also give you starting points. So if you have a new carrier that's not in our library, we'll give you a starting point to say, well, here's our canonical form of the API, or the EBOL, right? And then on the other side, you can say, okay, now I'm going to put what this particular carrier wants for those fields. And again, you can customize that.
So simple use cases that we're dealing with right now. So like a mid-sized 3PL, they won a new business. Go ahead and pull up their dashboard. They then needed to reach out and hook up about a dozen carriers for this new customer. And instead of waiting with their managed services EDI or managed IT department, they literally, their transportation people reached out to carriers and formed their own working integrations. Took them about 2 hours per carrier and about over 2 weeks of duration, because dealing with carriers a lot of times with EDI or API is a lot like herding cats. Some are really good, some are not. So, but here, this is like a working integration. This is actually our dashboard. If you want to, which allows them to debug, and there's a lot of back and forth with the carrier, making sure you want to do this and that you're correcting data points. We do allow the end users to program and actually change the integrations themselves. If you want to see that, stop by our booth. We're under the big D letter under there, and we can show you that afterwards. So other use cases we're dealing with is we're doing truckload, we're doing final mile. So final mile is in your TMS to the delivering company's TMS. Those integrations for orders and statuses and appointments. And then also LTL. So those are the three modes. Our primary customers are 3PLs and shippers that need to connect to their carriers themselves. We do have a quick SMS feature we're going to show real quick. It's just basically for a carrier, or while you're working on integration, you can send them SMS messages to the drivers themselves. We make it very simple for the driver. I'm in transit, I'm in delayed, or I've completed the stop. We're intelligent. We know the details of the load, so we know what stop they're on, so we put the GPS coordinates in that there too. So that's just some simple SMS tracking. So like I said, it's an entirely new way to make a connection. It is the most inexpensive way of any system that's out there, and we encourage you to stop by our booth and visit us afterwards. Thank you.